Excited to be here. I'm Lauren Walter. I serve as the Southeast Program Manager at Ignite National, and we prepare young women to be political and civic leaders in their communities. And we also have a fellowship program that specifically focuses on building community on college campuses in their cities. So we have 29 sites all over the country. But I'm really excited today because when working on creating this workshop or panel, we really wanted to highlight community collaboration and identify what our community's needs are without taking the mic from the communities that we're trying to highlight, and really allowing the discussion to flow and be taken by young people so that they can speak their needs. I think if you could get started, because we are also waiting for Madison, that would be lovely.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
All right, cool. I'll make sure to share my screen right now. Give me 1 second, guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty, can everyone see my screen? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I will briefly be discussing a little bit more information about the power of youth and the votes of the youth, not only nationwide, but more specifically statewide and countywide. So again, thanks for being here. It is voting season, so let's get into it. We are Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta. We are the first and largest nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting the civil rights of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders in Georgia and in the Southeast region. My name is Berenice Rodriguez, she, her pronouns. I am the Director of Civic Engagement and Organizing at Advancing Justice Atlanta. And I'm so happy to be here today. So first, I want to go ahead and lay out some of the facts. Georgia is looking really hot right now for a lot of different races. As a state, it is a top state where young people do have a significant impact on the outcomes of the upcoming 2022 midterm elections. It ranks the first among Senate races and the fifth among governor's races. The recent youth voter turnout in Georgia has been really high. In 2018, it definitely was 6 percentage points more than the national average. We have a pretty high voter registration rate, specifically to those individuals who are turning 18, who are very quick to register to vote, which is great to see in the state. We do have a very young and diverse population. We have a lot of the Georgia's youth population as people of color, but yet we do have a lot of diverse voting laws that are very much not in alignment with making it really easy for young people to go out and cast their vote. So if we want to go ahead to the next slide, I'll dig more into that. But I definitely want to go ahead and appreciate some of the things that Georgia youth voters have done. In Georgia, the young voters make 17% of the voting population. Again, that is slightly higher than the national average. In 2020, the youth voter turnout was 51%, just above the national average as well. It definitely had a huge 14-point increase from the 2016 elections. And I just want to emphasize as well that young people of color do make up almost half of the Georgia's youth population, and then overall 11% of the total voting age population in the state. Um, just to show how much of an impact. So in the recent elections in Georgia, um, Georgia has won narrow, very narrow elections in 2020. Like the presidential election was decided by less than 1 percentage point. Both the Senate races were close enough to trigger a runoff. Georgia has become one of those states where runoffs are sort of become a norm. And again, that really does, it's a huge impact from the youth votes, specifically because it only takes a slightly different, slightly small percentage point to trigger that runoff elections. A large and diverse youth population that tends to vote very differently than other parts of the electorate in the historically red-leaning states has been a big marker as to why Georgia has been able to drastically change on the spectrum of the electoral power and has definitely impacted that electoral power in the country as a whole. So I want to really get into some more information about the counties. So Georgia has a very, very diverse counties as a whole. We also have a lot of, probably the most counties out of any state in the country. We have 159 counties, which in my opinion is just doing the most. But we do have, we're home to Gwinnett County. Gwinnett County is the most diverse county in the entire country. Statewide, we have 51%. Yeah, thank you, Gabriela. Statewide, 51% in 2020, the youth voter turnout was higher. That's sort of the norm, 51%. But in Gwinnett County, 67. And in Cobb, 65, DeKalb, 57, Fulton, 56. Therefore, that the vast majority of those counties are the county voting power is holding based on the youth vote. So it's really great to see that a lot of these counties that are the most diverse are actually the ones that are holding the most electoral power by the youth vote. So those are just some quick statistics. Just by a number of hands, or if you guys can do like an emoji, I'm just curious, how many of you are in Georgia right now? I'm assuming everyone. All right, perfect. And how many of you are part of any of those counties that had a very high voter turnout, youth voter turnout? So Gwinnett County, Cobb, DeKalb, or Fulton? Awesome. Yeah, again, county diverse voting power is very important, especially when it comes down to not just the big elections, and I'm not talking just the even year elections. So you have the midterms and the primaries and your even year elections, but also based on your odd year elections. So a lot of people always forget, like there was an election in 2021, there's an election in 2023. Yes, and those are catered more for local power. So that's when you're like, when you really will be able to see a bigger difference because it's the county voting for specific local entities, like the school board, for example. Okay, so I think I've been talking a lot about how great the youth vote is and how great Georgia is doing as a whole. So really, like, what's the problem? Um, I really want to dig into Georgia policies and voting bills specifically. So for the good versus the bad. So let's talk about the good first because it's the easiest one, I guess. So for the good, there's been several facilities, facilitative voting laws that have support young voters. Um, for example, the state of Georgia offers online voter registration. That's great. You know, it increases accessibility, especially to the young folks, as you know, they have access to Wi-Fi and computers, etc. But that's really about it. Really, there really isn't anything much that exists within Georgia policies that really facilitate or cater to the youth vote any more than anybody else. So I also want to talk about the bad. So what's been going on with Georgia policies and Georgia state bills that have made it kind of hard for not only the general people who go vote, but also the youth. So there's been very harsh recent voter roll purges. What that means is that a lot of individuals have been taking off the voter roll if you're not voting, if you change your address, if you just been an inactive voter, you're just taking off the voter roll, and sometimes you're not even told that you're being taken off, you're just taken off. So then when you go and expect to cast your ballot on election day, you get there and then you come to find out that actually you've been removed. So there's been a lot of voter roll purges. They've increased their early registration deadlines, and they keep shutting down polling places. And sometimes you didn't even know that your polling place was being shut down until the day that you actually get to your polling place. And then there's a big sign, or there's a very tiny little sign that says, this is no longer a polling location. In early of last year, SB 202, the law came into place where it has made absentee voting very hard by shortening the timelines to request and fill out your ballot, limiting the number of access to the drop boxes. I think about 330 um, boxes that existed will not be available this year. It definitely has like mess with certain locations voting hours. It prohibits early voting during state holidays, and it also has made mobile voting units pretty hard. Another thing is that the law also bans individuals and organizations like ours from passing out food and water to people waiting in line on election day. So, what we used to do as an organization, we used to bring food, snacks, and water to individuals who were standing in line for like 1 or 2 hours. You know, we just wanted to make sure that voters would stay in line and not let their hunger or their boredom lead them to leave the line. So we used to do that a lot. After SB 202, we can no longer do that. So if you're a mom that gets off work at 6 p.m., you get to your polling location before 7, just in time to cast your vote. There's a line of 100 people in front of you. Maybe you're gonna want to go have dinner rather than wait 2 hours to cast your vote. So all of these little things may not seem like big deals, but when you put all of them together into one Senate bill, it really does create a very harsh domino effects that ultimately ends up not hurting just the general vote in Georgia, but definitely young voters as a whole. All right, like I said, it's voting season. Your vote definitely matters. These are some of the promo material that we've been passing out and info literature. Again, the midterms election is coming up November 8th. You have all the way up to October 11th to register to vote. And if you want to request your absentee ballot, you can do that now. And early voting does start October 17th to November 4th. I highly recommend that you all go and vote early. But before that, I recommend that you check your voter registration status. You don't want to get there the day of and then come to realize that you actually are not registered to vote anymore, that your registration has become inactive. So here, if you can use your phone, if you're on your laptop, use your phone to hit this QR code. It will lead you to a multi-platform website, which is ours, that can give you various information such as links on where you can check your voter registration, links to register to vote, and also links to a branch tool. This branch tool gives you access to a sample ballot. So you'll know exactly what's on your ballot the day of election day. And it also allows you to explore all the different candidates that will be on your ballot. You can customize that tool based on the things that are important to you. So if you really care about environmental justice, then you'll see wherever all your candidates are talking about or where their stands are on environmental justice. This tool, again, is a nonpartisan tool, so it's offered for all candidates, not just specific candidates. So I highly recommend that you use this QR code and explore our website. It's also, again, like I said, multilingual. So if you have family and friends that may not be fluent in English, you can definitely share this tool where they can explore those candidates and learn more about the elections on their own in a user-friendly way in their language. As a reminder, you cannot take your phone inside a polling location to cast your vote, but you can take a piece of paper with all your notes. Therefore, you can write down all the candidates that best align with
Berenice, I'm not sure if you went on mute, but I can't hear you. I'm not sure if everyone else is having that same issue.
I can't hear either.
Well, in that case, I believe this was her last slide, but if you guys are interested in becoming a canvasser or a field manager for Asian Americans Advancing Justice in Atlanta, they're hiring right now and it pays from 20 to 25 hours. So if you're interested, scan the QR code. And let me stop sharing my screen. Thank you, Berenice. Lauren, is Madison here?
She is not. She's still trying to log on, but I'll get started to be mindful of time, and hopefully she can log on soon. All righty. All right, let me. Noelia, do you want to share your screen or should I share?
I can share my screen.
Okay.
1 second.
Lovely. Well, hello again. I'm Lauren and I'm with Ignite National, and I'm really excited for this conversation around uplifting and amplifying young voices. Next slide, please. I'm really excited to introduce one of our panelists, Catherine Ceroso. She's a canvasser, they are a canvasser and nursing student at Emory University. And this is the bio that they provided. They're at their first year, previously attended Agnes Scott College. Me too. You're a Scotty? Wow. You received your bachelor's degree in biology from there and is a first generation college student. Along with being a college student, they're also a canvasser for Asian Americans Advancing Justice. Working together with this organization has been one of the most rewarding jobs they've ever had, and it feels like being part of change and trying to improve voter engagement in the community. And although it's not directly in their line of work, it's still very important. And civic engagement is intertwined with regulations and policy changes in every field of work. Yes, and it's very important to help our communities get their voices heard. Amazing. Well, Katherine, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. All righty, so I want to start off by asking you what drives you to do the work that you do. Are there any issues that you hold close to you that help you get through what you're doing and kind of help push you to do the work that you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. So I personally can't vote. However, I do see how important it is.
Katerine, I'm not sure if everyone else can hear, but you were cutting off for a bit.
Okay. Can y'all hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So I was saying how I personally can't vote. However, I do understand how important it is to vote. So I want to make sure that everyone that does have the opportunity to vote, or even if they don't, just knows the importance of it. So then they can do with that, like whatever they're able to, if they decide to vote or not, or just be engaged, like civically engaged, and how important their like small voice is in the grand scheme of things.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. So, you know, a lot of people have lost trust in our bureaucratic system, which is, it makes sense. But how can we continue to empowering one another to continue this movement of change and make sure that we're all involved?
I think it's really important when we like come together as groups, because you don't feel so alone. Like being like not part of like any kind of like organization or community organization, it can feel like, oh, like it's just one vote, like what is it really gonna do? But once you really like come together as a community and look at the problems and see how each individual does contribute like their piece to like the big solution, then that's what makes it worth it. I think that's it's really important to I think it's really important to feel those down, so then you can also feel the highs, because yeah, you might feel like, oh, your vote is not important, but once you're able to come together, or even if like the community is reaching out to you like we do on campuses, like you don't feel so alone, because we go, we talk to you, we inform, and then they understand. So I think that's really important.
You're so right. Thank you for sharing that. That leads me to my next question. What do you feel are the specific needs that hinder folks from voting or engaging in the voting process?
I think a lot of it is about having the information available to them. It's not as common as I thought it was. Like when I didn't work with this organization, I did not know like all the stuff that I know now. So I feel like not having the adequate information or just accessibility to the information, I think that's one of the things that could help like in the long run, getting people more engaged and things like that. So just more like community outreach and just building those connections with like real humans and like real communities.
Really, really cool. Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit more on how others can do a better job at advocating for their communities?
Yes, I think the most important part of that is just like speaking up and finding the right place to voice your concerns and or opinions. Because yeah, you might voice it to like your friends or just like your I don't know, maybe just like your school, like if your school has a community club. um However, it's important to do that. However, you need to take like that one step forward and get it to the right people, because if they're not hearing your concerns, if they're not hearing your voice, then really like nothing's getting done. So it's just about taking that step and communicating between like the yourself, your concerns, your opinion, your community's concerns, and the adequate person in your community to do that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How can your institution or other institutions across Georgia do a better job advocating for your community?
I think it'd be just about getting in touch with people. So maybe more events where we can, like more accessible events. So like try to do it like in the afternoon when like the parents are off work, stuff like that. So then we can actually communicate with them, because I feel like once we make the connection with them, then they'll be able to express this to their entire family. So we really just need to touch like the head of the households, and try to work around like their time. So then we can also get the information to them, because I feel like a lot of the times they are left out of it just because of, I mean, their work schedules, just like life. So I feel like in the afternoons, it's not more common to have like more events. Sorry, I'm trying to find the words. It's less common to have events in the afternoon, but I think it would be really worth like trying to do it just so we can communicate with more people.
Thank you, Catherine. Can you tell me like a memorable event that you've had or moment that you've had in this type of work where you've just been proud of the work in your community?
Yes, I think my favorite event or favorite moments. Asian Americans Advancing Justice, they have a food distribution that they do. I think it's almost like once a month, and it is so rewarding getting to see the families and like they just the smile on their faces. They're just so they're just so grateful for the assistance, and also they're so happy to provide us like with whatever we need. So what we do is we kind of like provide a survey for them so we can just check the needs of the community while we do the food distribution. And they're so open to doing that. They're like, these are the concerns of my community, these are the concerns of my neighborhood, this and that. And it's so rewarding just to be able to speak to them, like connect to them one-on-one, and then also be able to give back to them, like in this case it'd be like food. But yeah.
Food is the best incentive ever. I'd love to know what's next in store for you. I see, you're doing nursing school and you're continuing to be in the civic space. Do you have any goals or aspirations for yourself in the next coming years?
Yes, so obviously finishing up nursing school, but I would still love to be even more engaged, like civically, and also kind of leave like a legacy wherever I can, just because it's so important. Like honestly, I did not think it was this important like 2 years ago. Like I was just in my own little bubble, like, and I didn't see how much things can actually change, like if we get together, if we organize, if we're able to act more like a community, and voice our words that way, like as a community stronger together, our voice will be louder.
That's so true. Thank you so much. I'd love to get some questions from the audience. If anyone wants to come off mute or put their question in the chat, I can read it out as well. Are there any other pieces of advice that you'd have specifically for young people in this space, dealing with all the other things that the world is like putting on us and also doing school? What type of advice would you give for folks so that they can stay grounded?
I would say it's really important to take like time away from all of this as well. Like sometimes it gets too much. Like just thinking about all the problems in the world, like it's a lot. So just taking some time and space with you and like also like your community and do something fun and also be engaged as a community, because I feel like at the end of the day that's the most important part. If you're together, if you're engaged together, then that's what's going to bring you to that's what's going to make your voice even louder whenever you do have concerns and or things that you want to get done in your community.
Lovely, thank you. So we have a question in the chat from Atia Bailey. What are some ways we can advocate for people that can't vote?
The most important way I would say is going out and voting. So just being engaged wherever you can, and just there's a lot of organization. I mean, so is ours that advocates for people who can't vote as well. But just the most important one is just to get out there and make sure that your voice is being heard. And I think that that's enough.
I love that. We have another question from Berenice. What's the overall energy from voters you're speaking to now?
So now they're way more hyped than they were before. Like during the summer, I feel like since we're getting closer to November, and the election date, so we're hearing a lot of like people that are grateful for the information, because a lot of them did not know. They were just like, oh, we're having elections. Like they just really thought about elections being like every 4 years, like for the presidential ones. So a lot of people are really grateful. We're getting a lot more like face to face with people. Like now they're opening up doors. They're more eager, more excited. I think closer to the date, like as more that we get closer, I feel like we'll be able to speak to more people. And yeah, I think it's just going to keep going up from here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Katerin. Does anyone have any other questions for our panelists? Sometimes, you know, there's that little silence and then people are like, I have a question. I don't know. But I really appreciate you sharing this conversation with me. And I'm happy I'm talking to a fellow Scotty. I have my ring right here.
As the
All righty, thank y'all so much. I will pass it to Noelia, but I think that's it. Unfortunately, Madison couldn't join. She couldn't access Wi-Fi on a flight, so hopefully we'll see her in another space. But thank y'all so much. I want to put my email in the chat if any of you are interested in connecting. I'm based in Atlanta, so, and I'm always willing to go around Georgia. I have a car, so if you ever willing to go for coffee or chat or connect, we can do that. Thank you.